Today is Wednesday, September 5th, 2019. Coming up on Roland Unfiltered, Hurricane Dorian has moved on to South Carolina, where it continues to cause massive damage. We'll also talk about the relief efforts in the Bahamas. We'll have a live update from Paul Goodlow with the Weather Channel. Lil Nas X talks about why he came out gay on HBO. People are mad at Kevin Hart and the other brothers for questioning him. I'm going to do a deconstruction, y'all, because I need to deal with some of y'all who got a problem when black men actually have conversations amongst each other and keep it real. Oh, y'all don't want to miss that. When black people first arrived in Virginia in 1619, when people of African descent first arrived in Virginia in 1619, were they indentured servants or were they enslaved? And also, what's the difference? We will have this as a part of our 2019 segment. You don't want to miss that. Tamron Hall launches a new daytime talk show next week. You'll hear what she had to say about the transition. Toni Morrison has her own day in our hometown of Lorain, Ohio. Of course, we have another crazy-ass white woman losing her mind. Plus, we remember songwriter LaShawn Daniels. And we'll also talk about T.I. breaking down why we must monetize our culture. And what was Tom Joyner's one of his biggest regrets? Not partnering with Steve Harvey? You heard me right. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time. And it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now. Martin.
All right, folks, Thursday, September 5th, 2019. Our top story, Hurricane Dorian has left the Bahamas and is trashing South Carolina right now with storm surge happening. It is a major, major storm, folks. Flooding, rainfall, high winds, and tornadoes. Let's get right to it. Joining me live from South Carolina is Weather Channel meteorologist Paul Goodlow. Paul, again, the brunt of this stuff, of course, Bahamas hit real hard. What is happening right now in South Carolina?
Well, right now, the center of the storm is just offshore by about 40 miles or so from Myrtle Beach, and it looks like it's going to come real close to making a U.S. mainland landfall somewhere maybe around the Outer Banks of North Carolina later tonight or early tomorrow morning. But we're still dealing with some hurricane-force wind gusts across the coast of South Carolina and even North Carolina, some tropical storm-force wind gusts. And we've been dealing with a lot of heavy rain for much of the day. That's now spreading into North Carolina. But just last year, they had Hurricane Florence. This is a little bit different. Florence came in and kind of slowed down and stalled and dumped a foot or more of rain across a widespread area of North and South Carolina. Hurricane Dorian kind of moving a lot faster now. So we're going to see perhaps half that type of rainfall over a widespread area, but not as widespread as before. So we're not going to see as much river flooding, which also killed a lot of people last year. This is going to be a much more of a coastal event here for the Carolinas. It's in, it's out, and it might even bring some interesting weather to maybe the Cape and the islands of Massachusetts as we head in a couple of days or so. So this is unlike what it was across the Grand Bahama Island, where it kind of sat there for over 24 hours, the Cat 5 hurricane. This thing now is a Category 2, and it continues to move faster and slowly start to weaken, but it's still packing a pretty big punch, and will still be an eventful hurricane for eastern South Carolina and much of eastern North Carolina tonight and into tomorrow morning.
What is the impact on Georgia?
Not much. The coast of Georgia had some rain, had some surf. People are still out by the Sea Islands of Georgia. You're still going to have an increased surf and rip current risk probably into the weekend, and things will come down a little bit, but no major impacts from Dorian into Georgia except perhaps increased traffic and people's blood pressure up, worrying about whether they would have a direct landfall that hurricane.
All right, then. Paul Goodlow with the Weather Channel, man. We surely appreciate it. Be safe. Thanks a lot.
Sure thing.
All right, then. Also, folks, let me pull this up. A letter was sent by Senator Marco Rubio of Florida to Donald Trump asking for support there. In this letter, he lays out, he said, incoming images and media reports indicate that thousands of homes have been destroyed and the basic infrastructure of many communities simply no longer exists. In this letter, Rubio touts the role Bahamians have played in the building of Miami historically and the need for the U.S. to get involved. It says Florida enjoys historically deep ties with the Bahamas, and by proximity, many Floridians have family in the Bahamas. What he is asking for is for Donald Trump to actually remove the visa restrictions to allow folks from the Bahamas to come to Florida to stay with family while homes are being rebuilt. And so I'm reaching out to the White House to find out if that actually happens. And so we'll certainly keep you up to date on that as well. Also, just to understand what is going on here, this is the front page of the Nassau Guardian. I am on a email list, with folks there. This is the front page of the Nassau Guardian, a rising toll, 20 now confirmed dead. But I've been talking to folks there in the Bahamas. There are a number of other people who are dead. They have not even been accounted for. And so they believe that death toll is actually going to rise. And so we certainly are keeping looking out for that as well. And in fact, talk about how this thing has happened. The Prime Minister of the Bahamas, Dr. Hubert Minnis, talk about hitting close to home. His brother perished as a result of a Hurricane Dorian. This is, again, one of the stories from the newspaper there in the Bahamas. I have folks, again, who are from there who are sending me a number of stories and other images taking place there. There are all sorts of efforts being raised efforts being led to raise money. They're sending me literally a list of those things. Number of fundraisers taking place right now in Miami and Fort Lauderdale for the folks in the Bahamas. Fundraisers taking place in New York as well. So what I've asked them to do is to send me actually a list so we see all of that. This is one of the videos that was sent to me as well that was shot by folks there. Some of the ministers who were actually on the reconnaissance mission flying over the islands. They sent me this video so you can actually see what's going on there, to see some of that destruction that's taking place. A number of the homes there, Grand Abaco as well as Freeport. The second and third largest cities in the Bahamas, talking about serious damage. Grand Abaco really was laid out. More than 1,000 homes totally just destroyed. And again, the death toll is going to be rising there as well. And so we're watching that to offer all kind of support that we can. And again, I've been in contact with the Prime Minister's office, with the Minister of Tourism, the Minister of Health there, and so many others there, just to keep folks up to date about what's going on in the Bahamas. And so we certainly will stay on top of that story. We'll also see what happens with the United States, what kind of assistance they'll be providing the folks there as well. And of course, Trump has said he will pledge support to the folks there in the Bahamas. This is from one of the newspapers there in the Bahamas as well, saying that they will pledge support. We'll see exactly what that is, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Like I said, we'll see. And so we'll keep you guys up to date on that as well. All right, folks. R. Kelly, he is out of solitary confinement now in general population. His trial has also been set for April of 2020. He's been held without bail there in Chicago. Remember, he has been indicted not only in Chicago state and federal charges, but also in New York and Minneapolis, still being investigated in Georgia and Florida. And so we'll see what happens there. But he now gets to no longer in solitary confinement. So that's pretty interesting. His lawyer said that it was wrong of him. It was wrong for them to place him in solitary confinement, not being able to interact with others. And well, R. Kelly now gets to interact with folks, and we'll see. But he ain't going anywhere anytime soon.
But now he can fly. He's not in solitary
confinement anymore.
Okay, I haven't introduced our panel, but of course, Cleo Monago, Dr. Cleo Monago, Dr. Julian Malveaux, President Emerita of Bennett College, of course, Dr. Greg Carr, Chair of the Department of Afro-American Studies, Howard University. And so, yeah, they ain't wait for no introduction to start commenting on stuff, but it's all good, though.
Well, it was commentable.
Look, I'm just saying, we do different stories, and bottom line is R. Kelly, he out, and that's what happens right there.
Put it back in.
So,
Put it back in.
I'm just saying. All right, y'all. Of course, we've been focused on 2019. I told y'all we were launching this segment that we're going to do every single week talking about that. And so we also put together his intro to it. Y'all fire up the intro. I'm going to set it up and so explain more about it. So our goal with this is very simple, and that is a lot of people had events commemorating the 400th anniversary of the first 20-odd Africans arriving that really, some say, began this whole issue of the slave trade in the United States. We did not simply want to spend, 2 or 3 days on this. We really want to unpack this thing a lot more deeply and really get people to understand the impact of the last 400 years, what it has meant on the psyche of African Americans, but also on us economically, on our health, all those different issues. And so it goes beyond just folks arriving in Point Comfort, Virginia in 1619. No, not in Jamestown. What's now Hampton, Virginia. We wanted to focus on that. And see, that even that, Greg Carr, I think is part of this thing as well. We talk about the rewriting of history, where for the longest it was, they arrived in Jamestown, when in fact, no, they arrived where a whole bunch of black people are right now.
That's exactly right, this Hampton Roads area. It'd be interesting to hear from Professor Newbie Alexander, who is, I'm glad you got her, one of the experts on Hampton Roads and Portsmouth and that whole area. When we think about it, yeah, but Jamestown fits the narrative. So when you're telling a story that's really more about who you want to be today than it is about what happened in history, we need this segment every week, and everybody should tune in, because they're going to learn a whole lot more about what really happened and what is still happening, as distinct from what the fantasy story is.
And of course, it's been positioned that that the first 20-odd Africans arrived here, that everybody who came was enslaved, but in fact, there were some people who were indentured servants. So joining us, Dr. Cassandra Newby Alexander, history professor and dean at Norfolk State University. Doc, glad to have you here. And so, can you unpack this for us? Were there people of African descent who were indentured servants, or everybody who come over, were they all enslaved?
So thank you for the question. One of the things that I try to tell people is, when you're talking about this time period, and you're talking about England and what they did in the Virginia/Jamestown colony, was you're talking about a period in which there was no organized system of slavery. There was a system in the Spanish colonies and the Portuguese colonies and elsewhere, but not in the English colony, in particular in Virginia. And so when we talk about who was arriving and whether or not they were enslaved or indentured servants or whatever, I usually like to say that they were bonded, meaning they were unfree people, because their status was really not defined until a little bit later. Usually historians trace it to about the 1640s, when we started to see court cases put in place that essentially began to take away the rights and privileges of those who were in bondage, but not necessarily enslaved.
So I want to go right there. So what you're saying is that during this period, so of course, folks coming in 1619, that people of African descent had rights, but then laws began to get changed that took away those rights, voting rights, property rights. Can you unpack that?
Sure. So the colony did not have a clear system of any kind of enslavement in place. There were no laws. In fact, Massachusetts, the Plymouth colony in particular, was the first to create laws. I believe it was in 1641, to enslave those Africans who were arriving. But in Virginia, it would take until the 1660s before we would see some clear laws put in place. Now, what we would see in these early years are Africans being treated more as servants. Now, there's a difference between an indentured servant that had a contract and those who did not. There were some English people who had been kidnapped and made to be in bondage in the Virginia colony. As long as they didn't serve more than 20 years, that was allowed, because anything after 20 years was seen as slavery. And we would see many of the Africans who were arriving actually file freedom suits, claiming that they were Christians and they could no longer be held in bondage beyond a certain point in time. And we started to see those particular freedom suits by the 1640s, 1650s. And that suggests to us that people were trying to hold them longer than a maximum of 20 years.
Wow. Wow. Any questions from the panel?
Yeah, can I ask you just real quickly? First of all, Professor Nubia Alexander, thank you for your work, first of all, your ongoing work. How important is it for us to understand the difference between English enslavement and the Spanish and French versions, which were more based on religion, like Catholicism? The English, of course, couldn't do that. So it sounds like when these Africans began pursuing those enslaved by the French and the Spanish became the issue, the question of religion, England couldn't base its form of unfree labor on religion. Is this when they began to tease out race as the way they were going to do this?
Yes. In fact, what is interesting is that a lot of the English ministers who were arriving in the colony in the 1620s, 1630s, actually began to write about people of color. And in fact, by the time we get into the 1650s and 1660s, they're clearly stating that there is no way that these individuals could be Christians because they were Black. So they were defining Christianity and whiteness as somehow synonymous with one another. That was not the case with Catholicism. So that is really why in the English colonies, there was not the same kind of protection of human rights, the way that we would see that written into the Spanish and Portuguese and other Catholic-oriented colonies. But that's not to say that the people were treated kindly or gently. There were still allowances by owners, even in the Spanish and Portuguese colonies, to really abuse people.
Julian?
Sister, I really appreciate your work and thank you for it. I have a question about 1619, because there's a part of it to me that seems to be a false narrative. In other words, the first Black people did not come here in 1619. There were some other Black people here before that. And I think we need to sort of unpack some of that. Also,
We will. That's another segment.
Okay, but the other thing about the 1619 narrative, Roland, always smacking me down, but whatever. The other piece about it is the extent to which it really lifts up the British and doesn't look at everything else that was going on here. So it becomes a whiteness narrative. So I'm interested in your perspective on that, because as I read it, it sounds like the Brits and white people are taking away what was really happening in this country pre-1619, which included Native American people.
Well, you know, one of the reasons why there's a commemoration for 1619 is because even though the Jamestown colony was founded in 1607, the reality is that the Jamestown colony, which later became the Virginia colony, was not going to survive for the most part until 1619. When we saw the creation of the first limited legislative body, that really set in motion the idea that this colony would now survive. You had a body that was making laws, that was creating a court system and so forth. And so it was at that time that we also saw the evolution of a system, a cultural system, a legal system, as well as an economic system. Now, while Blacks were not dominating any of those systems, they became in some ways victims of those systems, especially the legal system, that almost immediately began to demarcate them as different. When they came in, they were not called by their ethnic name or by their name for that matter. They were simply regarded as Black people, Negroes. And that really was very different than any of the other servants coming in. However, they had authority to some degree or standing before the courts because they were filing lawsuits against their owners for holding them too long, punishing them harshly, et cetera, et cetera. And so when I talk about 1619, I try to emphasize that we're not talking about these were the first Africans who were on the North American continent, but rather these are the people who at the real founding of American society and culture in the first colony of the nation were there at its formation, and their culture, their activities, even their presence sort of laid the foundations for our society, culture, and especially our laws.
Greetings, Doctor. You're doing some excellent work, and I want to thank you for it. I have a question. You referenced earlier that even though the legislation of enslavement happened in the 40s and then later, in terms of the 1600s, that the bad treatment still occurred. So my focus is kind of around the treatment, because I traveled around the footprints of enslavement through the Caribbean, throughout the continent, throughout this country. And one thing I've found out about people in the Caribbean and other parts of the diaspora is that they still have some direct African sensibilities. Sometimes food, sometimes accents, sometimes cultural practice. And a lot of that has been domesticated out of African Americans. And I'm wondering, during the time of 1619, when did the domestication and the lynching and the terrorization start then, or did it happen parallel to the removal of human rights completely later in the 40s, in the 60s, in terms of 1600s?
So I'd like to answer that question by sort of posing this idea. And that is that when we talk about Southern cuisine, what are we really talking about? So we started to see the emergence of what we call Southern cuisine at that particular time. And it actually incorporated foods and folkways and customs, not just the English, not just the native peoples, but more importantly, the Africans. Because there's really no difference between Southern and African American cuisine. And so just those two terms really talks about the appropriation of Blackness, of Black culture, as a factor that began very, very early on. And so this whole commemoration about 1619 is about restoring that place that Africans had in the creation and evolution of American society and culture. And so the appropriation is being identified and put in proper perspective, because we want to make sure that people understand that the English did not just create this country all by themselves, that the native peoples didn't disappear after Pocahontas died, and that the people who were of African descent played a major role, not only in the evolution of this country, but in the very definition of what freedom, equality, civil rights, civil liberties was all about. Because they challenged every action, whether it was by running away, by fighting in the courts, or by fighting physically. We would see this action take place almost from the beginning. We would see it when people ran away, trying to gain their freedom. We would see it when they filed cases in court, and we would see it even in some of the revolts.
All right, Dr. Cassandra Newby-Alexander, history professor and dean at Norfolk State University. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
All right, folks, when we come back on Roland Martin Unfiltered, I want to talk about the monetization of our culture. What does it mean when the black folks decide to make money off of what we created? T.I. broke this thing down. I'm going to unpack this as it relates to this show. That's next on Roland Martin Unfiltered. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. All right, tomorrow, folks, if you are in the Atlanta area, you do not want to miss me at the Ride Money in Motion conference at the Loudermilk Center. I'll be moderating a panel about access and ownership sponsored by Banji, the only African-American-owned publicly traded cannabis organization in the world. I'll be there along with Matthew Knowles, Bonita Money, Ryan Mack, and the whole Bonji family to be front and center discussing entry into the multi-billion-dollar and growing cannabis industry and how you can become a distributor, shareholder, or cannabis landlord. Now, you are interested in making money in this booming industry, then I promise you don't want to miss this panel. It will take place at 2:30 tomorrow. But for a full list of other panels, activations, and tickets, visit ride.rollingout.com. That's ride.rollingout.com. All right, folks, let's talk about, again, what it means when we own our stuff. Yesterday, of course, marked the first anniversary of Roland Martin Unfiltered. And it's been a really interesting day because, you know, all these ADOS people, people who ain't got no damn sense. So Angela Rye sent a tweet out congratulating us on the show, and all these trolls came out the woodworks questioning our numbers, saying, oh, these numbers are lying, how can you prove it? And I said, well, first of all, y'all must be pretty dumb, because if you go to YouTube or Facebook or Periscope, the number is right there in the bottom left-hand corner.
They can't rewrote.
Now just get a damn calculator and add it all up. But you probably want to do that. And so for the folks who missed this, and people, we don't really talk a lot about our podcast, but we actually take this show, we have an audio podcast. Here we go to my iPad. So in the course of a year, we had 455,928 plays of our podcast on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, as well as TuneIn. Now, this was the total number when it came to our actual video views, 100.7, 100,730,126. Now, the minutes viewed of this show, 434,989,797. Now, people told me there was no way in the world we could make this thing happen. It couldn't get done. Oh, my God, what are you doing? There's no way you can make money, when, in fact, we actually generated more than $700,000 in revenue the first year of this show. Now, why am I saying all of that? Because the reality is we have to learn what it means to monetize our culture. I told y'all when I was watching the Sam Cooke documentary on Netflix, and you saw the story about how his manager pretty just stole his music rights from underneath him, put the company in his name where essentially Sam Cooke was working for him. Okay. We can show you numerous black musicians who lost their publishing rights because it was stolen by white managers and accountants and business managers. If you read Luther Campbell's book, you will understand how his music company was stolen from him by a white executive who he hired, who used the bankruptcy laws to steal his company out from underneath him. We're talking about the history of black folks as well when it came to owning land. I can go down the line describing all of these different things. But here we have a situation now in America where everything black folks touch is gold. We change the view of hair and clothes and style and music, yet for a lot of us, we're giving it away. I'm gonna go back to Luther Campbell. If you read his book, he describes this scene, he had a concert, and then when the concert was over, he was sitting there counting all his money. And one of the rappers from New York said, man, what are you doing? He said, I'm counting my paper. See, they had signed deals, licensing deals for somebody else to handle their merchandise for $2,500 and $3,000. Luke figured out, I could sell my own shit and get paid direct. He was making $25,000, $30,000 per show selling his own merchandise. That's called monetizing your own culture. Last year, the Global Hope Forum in Atlanta, there was a panel featuring several entertainers, including John Bryant, the founder and CEO of Operation Hope. And this is what T.I. had to say about this subject of monetizing our culture.
There's a lot to be said, you know, to your point. Hip-hop transcends culture, religion, age. It's truly diverse, and it's the number one genre, like, in the world. Hip-hop is the most influential genre in the world. It brings in more profits than any other, than country music, rock and roll, R&B. Like, hip-hop is the thing that brought the world together. If you can't agree on anything else, you can agree that, you know, when 50 Cent in the club come on, you know, everybody dancing together. We can be arguing and we ain't gonna agree on the same football team, basketball team, but when None But a G Thing, Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg come on, everybody, you know what I'm saying? So hip hop has brought the world together, and I think that because we are artists and we operate from the most artist-driven part of the brain, that kind of, it gives us a different capacity when it comes to our financial planning, because a lot of us take much, much more significant risks because of our belief in our art. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you have people like, for instance, Kanye. You know, Kanye, they said that he was, you know, in a place of financial discrepancy, but what he did was, that's because he chose to put all of his money into his art. All of his money, he said, if I'm gonna bet on anything, I'm gonna bet on me. I can't convince them to see what I see. I can't convince you to see what I see, but I know what my art can do. I know what my work can do. So even though it's unconventional, even though it may come at some just highly disagreed upon opinions, I'm still going to do this and believe in belief of myself. And now we see what Kanye is because of that mentality. Now there are a lot of other people who ain't exactly Kanye who did the same thing and they didn't come out so well. But
and that he later talked about, again, how do you monetize our culture? And the reason that sort of resonated, because see, when I had my TV One News One Now show, I was actually buying my own equipment. In fact, after my first job in the business, I never wanted to be in a situation where the company owned the equipment, so if I left or I got fired, then I'm sort of stuck out. So I always bought my own stuff, had my own cameras, had my own printers. I remember when I left the Dallas Weekly, they were like, what the hell happened? Because they were like, oh, that computer, the printer, and the camera, Roland own all of that. So that was the same view. And so when News One Now ended, the reason why I wasn't sweating this whole thing, because I had actually bought my own cameras, my own switcher. I had my whole infrastructure where I could keep doing my thing without TV One, because I own stuff they didn't own. Some of y'all gonna get that. Why is that important? Because it's called betting on yourself. So I would dare say, before we launched this show, I may have spent probably $200,000 on my own equipment. Greg Carr, why this is important is because the part of the problem I think that we get into, which is one of the issues that we have, we talk about how do we create wealth, is that we still operate by this whole notion of white validation, that it's not a real show unless it's on MSNBC or CNN or one of the different networks, when in fact, you look at this product, it can compete with any of those different folks as well. I had somebody tell me, man, why, you know, you didn't wear T-shirt and shorts when you were at TV One. Why you wearing it now? Because I own this shit.
And they need to be buying that.
But here's the piece though. But see, let me see again though. Somebody said, why you wearing T-shirts and shorts, but y'all don't ask Mark Zuckerberg why he wear a hoodie and T-shirts?
How about that? Or Bill Gates. That's right.
See,
that's right.
And the point here is, people were like, well, why don't you take this somewhere else? Why? And I'm telling you, like last night, I was watching the Motown documentary on Showtime. And while I'm watching it, my thought is going, did black folks make the documentary?
Oh.
Did our company make it? See. And so what I'm trying to get us is everybody wants our stuff. We have to accept the reality that we can make the documentary, we can make the show.
That's right.
Just like they can.
That's right. You know, Roland, it's fascinating you say it again, but you're always thinking like that. You're saying who owns it, whether it's intellectual capital. We just heard from Cassandra Newby Xander. She's at a black institution. You're conscious in putting institutions. Individuals cannot defeat institutions. And when you say that we need to think that way, not only are you absolutely correct, let's tie it to the segment that you've now established every week, the 1619 segment. In the years immediately following the Civil War, in fact, beginning during the Civil War, after the first Confiscation Act, in the Sea Islands, the same ones that are getting slammed now by the hurricane, Africans, through Rufus Saxton and General Sherman and them, this whole 40 acres and a mule business, took over the plantations that they had been forced to work as enslaved people, and began, the first thing they did was say, no more cotton. So they broke all the cotton gins. Then they planted tomatoes, potatoes, corn for sustenance crop.
Okra.
Then, yeah, okra, absolutely. Then the Civil War generals said, and Lincoln tried to rescind this, but Saxton kept going. They said, look, in order to break the South, we're going to deprive them of the profit from that crop. Let those Africans stay on the land. My point is, they then began to develop parcels of land, and then when they sold the land to white speculators, some of these black folks had figured out a way to monetize that crop to get enough money to buy some of that land. And they parlayed that into land that is still in the hands of some black families on the Sea Islands and in Georgia and Florida. I'm saying all that to say this. What you're talking about, what T.I. is talking about, what I see Nick Cannon do, Nick is at Howard now. I watch this cat. If you want to do business with Nick Cannon, he's like you. You got a contract with him. He's not going to work for you. What I see y'all doing, what this show represents, is not us doing something new. It's a return to the thing that we always did. In some kind of way, we got our heads twisted around during integration.
Julian, last night, actually the last 2 nights, I was on this text message, and it was a sister who, not from here, but who relates with black culture. And I was walking her through all this history. And I said, what I'm doing is what Robert Abbott did with the Chicago Defender.
Yes.
Right. I said what A.I. Scott did with the Atlanta Daily World. What Ida B. Wells Barnett did, Frederick Douglass. I said William Monroe Trotter. We can go down the whole line. I said, because the key is this. I said, if we did not have those black institutions that were black owned, Abbott didn't give a damn what the Colonel was doing what McCormick was doing with the Chicago Tribune. He didn't care. But the difference is this here. Black folks bought the Defender.
That's right.
Black folks said, we have to pay for that. So they had the ability to send staffers around the world because black folks funded it. What happens now, which is just grating to me, is that we have people who say they want black ownership, but then they want white advertisers or white media companies or other folks to foot the bill and say, why can't we get it for free? And that, to me, is the danger, because then whoever pays the piper is the one who controls the product.
The free press it's not free unless you paid for it. I mean, I admire what you've done, Roland. I think it's really important. And I think it's important in the historical context. Let's look at 1880, when black wealth to white wealth, the ratio was 1 black dollar for 36 white dollars. By 1910, it had dropped to 1 black dollar for 16 white dollars. In other words, black people post-enslavement were making economic progress. That's a period in which Ida B. Wells was able to fund her newspaper.
That's right.
The period in which Trotter and all those were able to fund their newspaper. All black people were not on the same page. You saw a lot of tension. With
Martin Delaney, all of them, they disagreed.
But they all believed, and you can go back to 1836, where it said, let us plead our own cause. And that was the bottom line. So now, every lottie-dottie, everybody wants to be on the air. Me too, but just saying. But the fact of the matter is, you will be censored if you're on the majority press.
No question.
There will be some things you cannot say. I did something very recently. They said, we need you to go light. I don't know what Malvo light is. But it's like, we need you to
Other than light skin, that's about it.
Stop it.
What? Hold up. Method Man could be watching. Remember he said, Remember he said, he said, who's the older red bone with the red hair?
Don't light up Johnny Blaze tonight.
But the point is that majority press has a narrative.
Yeah.
Even Nicole Hannah-Jones with the 1619 in the New York Times, you saw the splashback they got from that. How dare they try to rewrite the narrative? Well, we are not rewriting the narrative, we are writing the narrative. And so I think it's really important for us to understand that black people had economic agency absent the 40 acres and a mule.
That's right.
Until evil white people started passing laws to take our stuff away from us.
Very true.
Lynching was not about raping white women. Lynching was about economic envy.
That's
the
right.
first lynching that Ida B. Wells documented was because a black man opened up a grocery store
right.
across the street from a white man.
That's right. It's called
and
the
all the
People's
black
Grocery.
people, all the black people started going there.
That's right.
Then 2 little boys got into a fight over some marbles, which was their excuse. They always had an excuse. So they would go shoot up the black people's grocery store over some boys having a fight over marbles, and then lynched 3 black men, one of whom was Ida B. Wells' godchild's dad, and one of the first black postmen, which was a serious job for black people at that time. So when I've been studying this stuff, which is driving me nuts. That's why I'm already crazy, and it got crazier. Because when you start reading about lynchings, you just go like...
Yeah. Makes you sane.
But like, lynching black men because they own cars. Lynching people because they had businesses. Now, I mean, not the little petty stuff about lynching people because they didn't cross the street, but because you own shit. Excuse my language. In Florida, brother owned 40 acres of orange grove, lynched. And so let's just be clear about why this lynching occurred and why African-American economic accumulation is so threatening to predatory capitalism.
So, Cleo, when you look at Chance the Rapper, reads his record, reads his contract, and realizes that if he gives him a mixtape, he then is done with the recording contract, and then he then goes out and says, fine, I can now just do distribution deals. That's exactly what Prince told them 20 years previously when he said, stop being a slave to the record labels. When you saw people who realized that, wait a minute, okay, no, I'm gonna write my own music because Smokey Robinson getting paid like crazy. I was talking to Frankie Beverly at the Cincinnati Music Festival, and in essence, the people said, Frankie, you mad at Beyonce? She did Before I Let Go. He said, hell no. Do you know how much money she's made me?
No
because I own the publishing.
No question.
And so what T.I. is talking about is what we create, what we develop. We should be not getting a licensing deal. No, I want the whole piece. I'm not trying to sit here and play this game, but a lot of this still is this notion of white validation. Oh, in their eyes, oh, I'm seen as big, and I'm like, that's great, but guess what? You might have a show on those networks, but you ain't controlling and owning that show.
That's right. I'm glad you mentioned Prince because one reason I was so heartbroken when he died, because he was literally one of the most powerful black artists that ever lived. He owned everything, and he finally got Purple Rain back, and that's why people were skeptical about him dying right after, because he finally became the owner of his most greatest work. But I also heard, and this is relevant, that you're going to be doing work around deprogramming. You're going to do some deprogramming.
You know we're going to do that.
Okay, because we need to do that. Because back in the day, when people were supporting Defender and when IDB was around, we were less confused. Yeah. We were more clear. There were no arguments about white evil.
Right.
It was like, when is it going to happen next? Right now, there's arguments among black people about white evil. When you have conversations about black people, supporting black people, somebody will say, well, all white people aren't bad. Nobody said they were. Why are you coming to an abstract white rescue project that's not relevant to the direct conversation? Because we've been trained to look at them as
they don't look at structure.
Structure. But even when black people have structure, for example,
economic structure, political structure, we don't look at the structure. Forgive me for interrupting you, but it's, when people say, oh, all white people aren't evil, I wouldn't say all white people are evil. I say that the structure of predatory capitalism, which supports white supremacy. That's what's evil.
And that's important, but I want us to understand that we need to purge that impulse to run to the rescue of white folks. It's an unconscious training that comes out of a lot of things, including the mythological white Jesus. And some of the stuff that Roland has heard about, why are you doing this, why are you doing that, when other white folks are doing the same thing, but why are you doing it has to do with...
And in fact, let me help you out. So somebody asked me, they said, man, y'all did great numbers. I said, let me be clear. We didn't buy a single ad. We didn't do a single boost. But here's the other piece. Not one media outlet would do a story on me launching my own show. Now, I look at these media sites. I look at all of them. TV Newser, Mediaite, Multi-Channel. Look at all of them. And I see stories on this white boy who launched a YouTube show, or this white woman who's over here doing something. I see all these stories, And my publicist literally, in the first 4 months of this show, could not get a story done.
Why not?
I said, oh, because one, their own bias. Then it's also who he think he is.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's why I said, baby, don't worry about it.
Exactly.
We just gonna do the work.
Exactly.
And let's be clear, there were black outlets
Oh, please.
Yes.
who would not do stuff. And I said, don't worry about it. I said, because we gonna show the concept works. Now people are going, now that's why I laugh, and the reason I keep smacking these ADOS people, because literally they've been on my timeline all day. Check the numbers. And I'm like, get a calculator. I'm like, if y'all want to have this debate.
Roland, them people can't count.
No, but
What's wrong with 'em?
but again, though, the reason I talk about the whole deprogramming deal, I said, how can y'all be about black liberation and black freedom and black consciousness? I said, but I'm doing what y'all say. And I love this one here. They were like, well, you old black media. I said, well, my numbers are better than your new black media. Because what they can't stand is that when you're unbought and unbossed, you're even that way with some black people.
And that's why black people need to understand that we need to be deprogrammed. We should be excited about what Roland is doing. We should be glad he had 3 numbers, let alone 3 million numbers.
Right.
We should be glad he exists.
We had 100 points.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. He has 100 points.
100.7
The bottom line is that
million.
why we even, this is not a rhetorical question. The question is why we even hating and saying he don't got no numbers. That's anti-black. I don't care how many Pan-African
But you
outfits
know-
you got and how many
Because here's the deal. Here's the deal, Cleo.
If you're trying to throw doubt into what he's
Cleo.
doing, it's anti-black.
But here's the deal. Hold on. But here's the deal, though. There are people who hate on me, and I've said to them, go do you.
Right.
Do your show.
Right.
Radio, I said, I ain't got to watch you. I said, but do you. I said, I ain't dogging you. Knock yourself out, because
can't-
my deal is, if you're talking to a segment and you're serving them, that's great. That's fine. But what I'm not going to do, though, is I'm not going to let folks try to denigrate something, because, again, the larger picture is, like, that was at one point in the late 1800s, literally there were 10,000 black newspapers.
Yes, sir.
That was
Yes.
started in a 30-year period.
That's right.
Between 1850 and 1900.
That's right.
10,000.
Because we believed in controlling our own information. And so, you know,
But
I mean,
we didn't believe we
my
were
line-
God, though.
But my
That was the
line
problem. We
always
didn't
is
believe we were God. That's
everybody
always
brown
people
ain't
said
down.
this.
So, you know, these ADOS folks.
But here's the deal, though. But again, though, I don't mind them doing what they do. Go right ahead. Because I ain't dogging you. Knock yourself out. But what I'm trying to get our people to understand is that, so it's all, because another thing is this here, which T.I. also deals with, because musicians have done this, how they collaborate. I've said it. Every major black media company, I went to them before we launched this show.
Right.
Nobody wants to do anything.
Right.
I talked to folks since we launched it. Nobody wants to do anything. And I'm looking at them going, y'all ain't got nothing like what we're doing.
But they can't do what.
Which is why vision.
They're not free. They're not
well,
free.
well,
the issue
but-
is
But we
that they're
need to,
anti-black.
but
But
we
they're-
need
but
to
they're not
learn
free.
to, but we need to learn to
Anti-black.
understand that. Let me tell you something. Rupert Murdoch sold his Fox Entertainment interest to Disney for I think it was like $70 billion. See, they ain't got no problem. Look, Bob Iger is a big-time Democrat.
Sure.
Rupert Murdoch is a big-time conservative. But guess what? When Obama was in there, Murdoch was kissing up to Obama.
No question.
For them, it's about money. And what I'm trying to get black folks to understand is we are 24 years away from America being the nation majority of people of color.
Right.
We are seeing black people, black ad agencies going extinct. You know why? Because what used to be black dollars became multicultural dollars.
Yep.
And the white ad agencies had no problem. They're like, okay, you know what? Y'all can handle the multicultural dollars, but here's the problem. It used to be mainstream. Let me help y'all out. Let me walk y'all through. It was black, multicultural, mainstream, which means white.
And that's.
Hold on. Let me explain it.
Yes, sir.
Black, multicultural, mainstream, which means white. There were 3 buckets. Black got merged with multicultural. So then it was
right.
multicultural dollars and mainstream, which is white. Here's what happened. Demographics change. what was multicultural is now mainstream.
That's right.
So now the mainstream firms, okay, so when the let me see, help out loud. Let me go back. Black, multicultural, mainstream, which is white. Multicultural increases, moves out black people. So now black people are now fighting Latinos and others for the same crumbs. Mainstream is sitting here saying, okay, y'all can have, that's crumbs to us. Demographics change. Guess what? Black and Latino now getting frozen out because mainstream said, we're going to gobble up what y'all got because, see, what y'all got is going to overtake ours one day.
Right.
So what's the problem? Again, let me unpack it. The black folks who worked for agencies and the black people who worked in corporate America knew the black ad agencies. The black ad agencies knew the black media people. They understood what we can do and our power and leverage. The problem you have right now, white control ad agencies, most of them European, they pretty much bought up all of them. They don't know black people. They don't know me. They don't know that black newspaper. They don't know Tom Joyner. They just look at metrics and numbers. So the problem is your black ad agencies are now withering on the vine. What does that mean? If your black ad agencies wither on the vine, black media is not going to be withering on the vine.
Right.
Unless folks see the larger picture and say, no, we have to sound the alarm because this is the game they're playing, folks, because I want y'all to hear me. What they're saying is we don't need to buy Roland's show or Tom Joyner or Harvey or Ricky Smiley or Essence or Ebony or Black Enterprise because they also watch TNT.
Right.
And TBS.
Right.
And ABC.
That's right.
So we can get them
That's right.
by giving the money to ABC.
That's right.
Even though we know black people watch both, but watch one totally differently
That's right.
than the other.
That's right.
So we don't understand the game. What's going to happen is, because I need y'all to hear me, what's going to happen is we're going to wake up one day and realize the black media outlets have gone away because if 2 buckets of revenue don't exist, they're dead. Subscriptions and advertising.
That's right.
If they take the advertising and we don't subscribe, there will be no show.
That's right.
Or radio show.
Or
Or TV show.
That's right.
Or digital show. Or magazine. Or newspaper. Which now means we're left to ask somebody else, can you please cover our story?
That's right.
Can you please put on different voices? And that means we're going to have numerical numbers, a demographic shift, and asking somebody else, can you please cover us, Greg?
I was going to say, Roland, this ties to everything we've been talking about from the beginning of this show to now. Again, 1861, 1862, the Contraband Acts. South Carolina and in Mississippi, you see blacks take these plantations and move over. When these white boys collaborated, and Dr. Malveaux, Julian, you said it perfectly, predatory capitalism. When they opened up the Sea Islands for investors, the Northerners came down to buy up all the land. The blacks who had saved enough money to do this, let's call them the subscribers in land to make the parallel. They were able to buy a little bit of land, but here's where it came in. The plantations that were bought up, what the northern white boys did was say this: we want to own the land, but we will hire you to stay down here and work the land. In fact, we'll pay you to work the land. So what's the parallel? You're describing an era when they can't get around black content, but they want to own the black. They want us to work on these media plantations.
Which is why I call it, in politics, political sharecropping.
Absolutely.
And this is called media sharecropping.
Media sharecropping.
So like when I was on CNN, I literally had a major executive tell me when I launched my ascot and bow tie line and I had my other stuff, he said, y'all, this was a quote. Now, you know, if you were full-time here, you couldn't be doing all that stuff.
Exactly.
And this is what I said. And that's why I'll never be full-time here.
Right.
Because my multiple revenue streams is what gave me the freedom to say what I wanted to say on air.
That's right.
Because they did not control all my money.
That's right.
And
Final comment.
The issue is control. The issue is really about control. And we can look through history and talk about control. And the challenging thing right now is that there's so many stories, Roland, that you bring to the air, like the crazy-ass white people, but other stories which we don't see elsewhere. which in terms of all kinds of things we don't see elsewhere. We need to know about what's going on in our nation around the exploitation of black people, and the New York Times ain't gonna cover it.
See my shirt?
Yes, value black people.
That's the bottom line.
First, I'll put your hands down so they can see the shirt.
That's,
You're like, see my shirt?
No problem.
You can't really see the shirt.
I
'cause you
was-
covered it up.
I was going to remove it ultimately.
I got
next
you.
time I'm gonna wear a T-shirt.
The bottom line is that black people need to unlearn the myth of white supremacy, purge from that myth, and learn to value black people at all costs.
Yeah.
That's what because as I said earlier, and this is relevant to everything that we've been talking about, including you even getting more subscribers, which you deserve to get, is that we question it if it's black. We question its relevance.
Ourselves,
We
yeah.
question whether it has value. When Robert Johnson sold BET to become the CEO, remember that?
Right.
He sold it,
Yeah.
and they let him stay there.
Rich sharecropper is still a sharecropper.
Exactly. Some black people thought, ooh, because now he know he gonna get paid. It's like,
Hold up. But for those black people, he
It's a
actually
lot
got,
of 'em.
he actually got paid in the sale. And but see, even with that, because and I get we think differently when it's like I understand the power of media, but here's what I also explain to people. Okay, BET got sold for $3.3 billion. John Malone got 1/3 of that. Bob and Sheila Johnson got that. Bob and Sheila Johnson through BET created more black millionaires than any
Yes,
other
they did.
any other
no
black
question.
company in history.
Yes, they did.
Second, by selling the company, they now actually employ more people through the company. The multiple companies they own than just BET. Now, I totally understand the value of media. What I also want, and we'll do this deconstruction in a whole nother day, walking black people through what selling also means when you take that capital and now can do other things.
That's good.
So I
Sure.
take so I'm gonna do that
No,
another
but let
day.
me- but let me
so,
finish this point.
so I'm gonna do another day. But finish your point.
Okay.
But I got to deconstruct this Kevin Hart, Lil Nas X. Go ahead.
Sure. But there's a difference between system success and black cultural success.
Oh, I got you. I understand.
Yeah.
There's a difference because if you become a bunch of neutral black millionaires instead of black people who do what Jews do and Asians do to make sure they're supporting legacy and building
Absolutely.
black people and building more cultural legacy of self-love and self-respect so the rest of the children can love themselves, that's different than...
Which hold on.
I'm almost
again,
finished.
Real quick, like I really gotta go
I
next
know,
up, but go real quick.
but people interrupt me, then I can't finish.
Come on.
When Bob had that station, they had news. They were what I call trans-breaking, black-focused news shows with, I forgot the name.
I got it. I got
They
Lead
took that-
Story.
They got rid of
Lead-
all of that.
all that Teen Summer,
and it's
yeah,
still
yeah.
gone. You have been the only consistent news source that had syndication in the country. They got rid of
Right,
all of
because
it.
his whole deal was
Because-
entertainment is more important than news.
But
He
But
said it.
my closing
then
my
education.
closing comment is,
Right.
is that trans-breaking work for black people, getting us out of the anti-black mythology and the white supremacy mythology is equally important, if not more important,
I agree.
than just becoming successful in this system.
Which is why, again, we'll do another day, but I'll break down what Robert Smith is doing, who's worth $5 billion, and how he is also doing that thing with things that he is funding, that he is actually controlling. That'll be another deconstruction. Gotta go to a break right now. When we come back, I'm gonna break down this segment that's on HBO show, LeBron's show on HBO. Now, a bunch of people are trashing black men, saying black barbershops are filled with sexist, misogynistic, homophobic black men. Come on. I got something to say to all y'all.
Happens.
Y'all might want to listen up and buckle the hell up. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. So great camera work. So Gerald Albright was in Virginia. I shot that video last year, and so we got some other stuff we're gonna be showing y'all. But that's Gerald Albright, one of the folks performing Luxe Jazz Experience in Cabo, November 7th through the 11th. I'm gonna be there, folks. We'll be broadcasting Roland Unfiltered at Thursday and Friday. It's gonna be a phenomenal opportunity, folks, listening for you to have top-notch music and libations, as alcohol, and of course golf and spa and wellness. We have the Omnia Day Club, Los Cabos, nestled in the Sea of Cortez and celebrity playground of Los Cabos. It's a wonderful experience, the second annual Ultimate Jazz Getaway for folks who appreciate that music. It's going to be a phenomenal time, luxury accommodations. Again, as we said, great food, great drink, golf, spa, health, wellness, all kinds of stuff we'll be doing there. And of course, the various things taking place include mini concerts, the Spirit of Jazz Gospel Brunch, Jazz Sunset Cruise. Some of the confirmed guests, comedian actor Mark Curry, Gerald Albright, as I said, Alex Bouillon, Raul Madon, Incognito, Pieces of a Dream, Kirk Whalum, Average White Band, Donnie McClurkin, Shalea, Roy Ayers, Tom Brown, Ronnie Laws, Ernest Quarles, and more. If you want to see the whole lineup, go to LifeLuxeJazz.com, L-I-F-E-L-U-X-E Jazz.com, L-I-F-E-L-U-X-E Jazz.com. And if you're wondering, this venture, it is a black-owned venture, just so y'all know that. And so I'm one of the ambassadors. I'll be there. A pre-birthday celebration for me. We're going to have a great time. So I want y'all to go to the website, check out the packages, and look, it's going to be cold in November on the East Coast. So y'all can come hang out in Cabo for 4 days so we can have a grand time. So really looking forward to making that happen. LifeLuxeJazz.com, LifeLuxeJazz.com. All right, y'all. Let's talk about this here. So I saw this clip on social media, and it was, so LeBron James has this barbershop show on HBO, okay, part of his media company, Uninterrupted. And so there was a conversation with Lil Nas X, Kevin Hart, and others about Lil Nas X coming out gay. Roll a clip.
And with all that early success, you felt it was important to make an announcement recently.
He said it was gay, so what?
Yeah, what's the point? So why did he feel that was necessary? It's not about who cares. That's actually my question. Why do you feel it was necessary to come out and say that?
It's not that, like, it's, like, being forced. It's just, like, knowing, like, growing up, like, I'm growing up to hate this shit. I'm not supposed to ever like this.
Hate what? Hate what?
Homosexuality, gay
Why?
people. Come on now.
Why are you gonna
If
hate
you're really
it?
from the hood, you know, like it's not some. So it's like if for me, the cool dude with the song on top of everything to say this, any other time, like I'm doing this for attention in my eyes. But if you're doing this like while you're at the top, you know it's like for real, and it's like showing like it doesn't really like matter, I guess.
Exactly, it doesn't.
There it is.
Now, allow me to deconstruct this. And so there was this huge backlash on social media of people saying, oh, that's the stuff that happens in black barbershops, you know, homophobic, sexist, all they talk about is women, and stuff along those lines. And they were trashing, I can't believe Kevin Hart said that. Okay, the point of the show is to have conversations that we don't have. See, it's a little idiotic to say, I'm gonna trash the people, I'm gonna trash Hart, I'm gonna trash the other guys who said, well, so what? Why'd you come out? Them saying that is what leads to Lil Nas X explaining why he did it. Mm-hmm. See, if everybody in the barbershop goes, oh man, that's so brave of you, that ain't real. Because in real life, we have real conversations. Right. See, what has also happened in this society is we have created this whole notion of black men as these wild, dangerous, angry, sadistic, crazy, outlandish individuals, as if beauty shops ain't talking about lesbians.
How about that?
See, we have created this dichotomy of black women of being so knowledgeable and accepting and loving and open, and black men as being haters and closed-minded, when the reality is you got black men who don't like gay people, you got black women who don't like gay people, and then you got people who say, Let's actually have dialogue. For a lot of folks out there who don't even understand, I've been in black barbershops. I've been in the barbershop where one cat said some bullshit and got checked by somebody else.
Every time.
And then somebody said, oh, damn, I didn't even know that.
Come on, brother.
Then you got the cat who think he knows what he's talking about, but he ain't Googled a damn thing and ain't read nothing.
That's right.
But then he gets checked by the knowledgeable brother in the barbershop who does know stuff. Then you got the person in the barbershop who they think know a lot of stuff until somebody who actually has read some shit comes to the barbershop
Yes.
to get a haircut.
Yes, sir. Yes.
See, I've been in that position.
We all
Where
have.
you sitting there, Greg, you know, you sitting there,
Come on,
and then
brother.
all of a sudden somebody sitting there talking, and you like, you know what, I ain't really trying to
Come
bust
on.
his
But you
ass.
know, Roland-
Well, I'm not done. But everything he's sitting there, you got to wait, Julian. This is a deconstruction. I'll let you know when you get to talk, okay?
Thank you,
It's a
Roland.
deconstruction. So what happens, y'all, is I've been there where they run their mouth, and you like, I ain't trying to say
No
nothing.
question.
Because, see, I'm going to embarrass his ass
No
if I
question.
say something.
No question.
But then he keep talking, then you go ahead and embarrass him.
Gotta say something.
We also talk and say,
Gotta say
well,
something.
black men don't talk enough. That's what the hell they were doing.
That's right.
Okay? They then said, when Lil Nas said, come on, y'all from the hood,
Come
y'all
on.
know.
You know what
he
it
was
is.
saying, y'all know what the real deal is.
Yeah.
Let's not trip because these cameras are here.
Right.
So why do we sit here and trash them for being them and having a real conversation? We know why Lil Nas X came out, and he's right. Because he said, I grew up and it was bad. Here I am, big star. I can help somebody else who's going through the same situation. Because, see, we all have understanding of what we do. I had somebody ask me, and they said, when Caitlyn had her surgery, you talk about it? Nope. I said, that's personal. They didn't write. I said, I don't talk about personal stuff. They're like, what do you mean? I said, have you ever seen me talk about a celebrity who got married? Nope. Have you ever seen me talk about a celebrity who got divorced? Nope. Have you ever seen me talk about a celebrity who dating somebody? Nope. You ever seen me talk about a celebrity who had a baby? Nope. You know why? Because I don't give a damn. There are so many entertainment shows out there. If that's what you want, go watch those. I don't have the time for that. So my deal is, it ain't because Caitlyn went from a man to a woman. It's not because somebody gay. Found like when Robin Roberts came out. Okay. You do the story? No. Because that's your business. That's the standard that I have on the show, because if I start talking about all celebrity stuff, who's they dating, who they married to, who they now with, then guess what this becomes? A celebrity show. We have finite time, and we talk about stuff that's not covered elsewhere. But again, that's my news judgment. Now, I would be wrong if I discuss celebrity stuff, but I ain't want to discuss stuff that's where somebody who's gay came out. This is like, hold up, why you got a different standard? The reason this pisses me off is because we have this society, and black folks are really doing this as well, but we are trashing black men who are trying to be more transparent and open and honest and having conversations. Because see, if y'all really want to go there, you go to a black women's conference, oh hell, they talking about all kind of stuff. They
you?
sitting here crying. I mean, they are wailing, you name it.
Wailing.
But you go to a black male conference, and you got most folks talking about sports plans, dominoes, tonk, spades, bid, whist, because it's about games. Because we promote this whole idea when black men get together or men get together, it's all fun and games, but women get together and they working on themselves, stuff along those lines. If you don't like the honest and raw conversations that they have on this show, well, don't watch. But it's wrong of us to get mad when somebody in an actual conversation says something and that's their particular point of view. Remember a couple of years ago when Mark Cuban was on a panel and he talked about how he felt if a group of black men were dressed a certain way and they were approaching him, how he would respond. People got all upset. And I was like, and I said it, why y'all getting upset? Because that's Mark Cuban actually being honest. If Mark Cuban can't be honest about that conversation, then how can we actually break down walls? See, the problem I have is we have fake conversations. Oh, we have fake conversations.
No
We have fake conversations on television. We have fake conversations on radio. or people sit here and they don't really want to be honest, and you sitting there going, you know you full of shit, and you know you lying. Because what they're doing is they're playing to the audience because I don't want to come across as being a certain way. I believe the reason we have problems in our marriages, in our families, in our frats, in our sororities, in barbershops, in beauty salons, in groups, because we don't have real, raw conversations. My last point in this deconstruction is why I feel this way, is I'm a life member of Alpha Phi Alpha, plays at Texas A&M Paul McCarn chapter, and we had brotherhoods. So we had a reunion one year, and so we went to this clubhouse of one of the undergraduate brothers. So we walked in, and the brother's like, all right, man, so we got food here, and so we got the music going on, we got stuff to drink, our girlfriends, the AKs, they coming by about 9:30, then we go to a party. And we all like, we looked at, the grad brothers went, do they not know this is a brotherhood? We were like, okay, turn the music off, put the alcohol down, call your girlfriends, tell them they ain't invited. Call them AKs, tell them they can't come over here. And these young brothers were like, what y'all doing? We said, we gonna teach y'all ass what a brotherhood is. See, a brotherhood, what we call it, is not a time we get together and play games.
Right.
A brotherhood is where we get together, close the door, and we have brotherly conversations. We were having this one conversation where brothers were talking about black on black crime. We were talking about, oh man, I couldn't kill another brother. Then we had one brother said, y'all all full of shit. He's like, well, he said, I will kill a man in a heartbeat. And they were like, what? He said, I did when I was in Iraq. He said, one of us was going home in a body bag and it was not gonna be me. He described killing a man, an Iraqi, with his bare hands. That totally changed our discussion on killing somebody else. Because we were talking about it in the abstract. He said, let's brought it for real. In that brotherhood, we had brothers who gave their lives to Christ. We had brothers who talked about their marriages disintegrating, brothers who talked about sexual addiction. Y'all, we didn't leave that brotherhood till 7 a.m. What is my point? When black men get together and have real conversations,
that's right,
transformative things happen. The problem with the television show is you get to see it and now you want to comment on it.
That's right.
I would rather have brothers say what they said and then we talk about it than not have a conversation.
That's right.
So for those of you who got a problem with what you heard, check yourself. What you should be saying is, thank goodness there's a TV show owned by LeBron James, featuring black men, having discussions that you ain't hearing other places, instead of you judging what somebody said in a conversation.
That's right.
My deconstruction on this ends. Now y'all can comment.
You know, Roland, I sent you a text.
You would be talking, you would just jump out, be the first one. We talking about black men, this conversation.
Because
Julian want to go first.
Because I love black men, I love my brothers, and I...
Oh, I'm gonna mess with you, but go ahead, all right.
Yeah, you always messing with me. What's new? But the point is this. What are the point? We don't wail at our conferences, by the way.
Yes, y'all do.
No, we don't.
Don't even front. First of all, my wife is an ordained minister, and look, y'all, I've been to women's conferences, and y'all wail. I've heard, matter of fact, hell, I was at the Chris Tucker golf tournament,
well,
and that was a women's conference taking place at the same time. This sister was wailing.
Okay.
No. Let me be real clear, since you want to go there. Y'all, she was wailing on her knees, on the ground. Wasn't nobody patting her on the back. She was in the corner. No, I ain't done. They were selling stuff. No. I'm letting her know. They were selling stuff. They were like, baby, go ahead and wail, do your thing. Right. But she was wailing. All right. Now you can go ahead. You're going to tell me what I saw with my own eyes.
You saw one sister wailing. You not collectively wail.
Guess what? They on YouTube, Facebook saying, yeah, we wail. Right. Go ahead.
I didn't see that on my Facebook. But
somebody just text me, we do well.
Okay,
what that say, Greg?
It says, we do well.
Yeah,
brothers well, too. Brothers be well,
too. But the point is, I was
not
watching...
enough, but go ahead.
I was watching, for a number of reasons, some of your previous programs, and being touched by the transparency in the conversations you were having with brothers. I think last week you had the brother who did the book Color Me Father.
Yep.
And before that, you had the brother, your frat brother, Omari.
Omari Hardwick. Yep.
Yep. And I was watching those, trying to put together something that I'm working on. And what struck me, Roland, and I sent you a note saying, you need to begin to have these conversations with brothers and to make this something we do. You know, there are plenty of women's conversations. We don't look at men as a collective. We look at women as a collective of women's issues. And, you know, I'm the last of living feminists. Last living nationalist feminist. But in any case, but we don't look at brothers as a collective, and we must, because much of the damage that happens in our community happens because there is no transparency among men about what's going on with them. But that little clip, I had never seen that before, but the brother came, he said he was gay, and why do you have to say that? Because we know there's homophobia in our community.
I ain't scared. I'm not scared of anybody's sexuality. In fact, let me just say that the black community is like the human community. It's not a monolith. We know that. So people say the black community is not a monolith. Please be quiet on that, because you haven't said anything profound.
Nope, not at all.
That's number one. Number two, stay out the barbershop, please. Just like when we were
What you mean
growing
by
up.
that?
No, when we was growing up, you stayed out the beauty parlor. If I needed to get a message in the beauty parlor, I stood at the door. If my mom was getting her hair fixed, and I had to go run an errand. In other words, there used to be spaces you could and couldn't negotiate. Now, because we're not a monolith, I accept unisex hairstyle, and I've had my hair cut in them. But when I want to have that unvarnished conversation, Roland, when you were talking, it reminded me of that Richard Pryor joke. Richard Pryor said his daddy used to sit in the barbershop and wait for a Negro to make a mistake. 1940, what? They didn't fight nothing. And he said, get in your car. I got the almanac at the house.
Boom.
The point is that anybody can get it in the barbershop or the beauty parlor. And I don't want to hear a conversation between women, gay, straight, LGBTQ, whatever, when they're having a conversation when they're unpacking something. Because there is a value to being in spaces where you can be unfettered. Now, Kevin Hart, for whatever reasons, jumped out there. Lil Nas X got to explain himself to the brothers. I'm not worried about your sexuality, but you got to explain yourself to me. And quite frankly, let's be clear, love to Kevin Love, but I ain't even in no barbershop with no white dudes sitting there, because I'm going to have a conversation, and you can finally, this is the last thing I'll say.
I knew Super Black would say I agree with you on that one.
No, I'm just saying.
But go ahead. I'm going to Cleo.
Because I know we got to go.
Go ahead.
I know it's your show, but you don't want to go too far. I guess what I'm saying is this. When you have spaces that are sacred to our people, those spaces are off limits if you're not ready to have that conversation. If there are other places you want to go, fine, but you have the choice to be able to do that, and you have the freedom of choice. But as far as I'm concerned, at my age, if you don't want to hear that, stay out the barbershop.
So, Cleo, the issue again I had here was that because it's a TV show and they're filming it, and people are now getting mad at the response. No, the response was real, because that's what real people say. Yeah. And I'm not going to get mad when somebody said, well, why? Like, even you laughed when we played the clip when Kevin said it. Well, what's the problem? He like, you gay, okay? And it's like, and look, and you same gender lover, and you were cracking up laughing, but the point here is they were having a conversation, and that's the whole point. Have real conversations.
Well, excuse me, I completely agree, because it's true that we as a people are not having enough conversations, period. And somebody made it difficult for us to unify, to have dialogue some time ago, and we're now in the festering zone of not having had conversations, and it's a long time coming that needs to happen. I think another perspective needs to be considered here. I saw this piece because your producer sent it to me. I hadn't seen it, and I saw some of the comments. And this is what has not been said yet. Same gender-loving black people, including black men, go to barbershops to get their hair cut because they black men.
Right.
They got this kind of hair.
Right.
I hate going to the barbershop because either I'm hearing about some Christian crap or some sports or some what people call so-called homophobic conversations about faggots, etc. This is what happens all the time at the barbershop.
You got to change your barbershop.
Oh, well, I'm talking about, I'm not talking about my barbershop. I'm talking about the phenomena that people are thinking about when they watch this show.
Yeah.
There was some moments of probably waiting to exhale, if you will, among same-gender living people who watch this, because what we're not saying or considering is that had never happened before. It's 2019, And
What
that,
had never happened
a conversation between black men where a same-gender loving person talks about what they are in the presence of other black men.
I've been in those spaces, brother.
I'm
But I
talking
hear
about-
what you're saying. Yo,
No, he's saying that's on air.
I'm on air.
Go ahead, go ahead,
Please,
go ahead,
thank
go
you
ahead.
thank you for hearing
Thanks,
the
bro.
context.
No, you're right.
I'm
I
talking about
appreciate
on air.
Yeah.
So people are listening with sensitivity. I disagree with the comments that I heard that were similar to what you raised in terms of people critiquing it, but I get it. Because for another problem that we have here is that the LGBTQ community, which is a war community that fights everybody, that don't take no stuff, that starts fights, that invented the word homophobia, teaches black people how to deal with who they are in very defined and defensive ways instead of rational ways in terms of reflecting with other black people. And the black community, like I told you some time ago, has not had a macro conversation about same-gender loving people being part of the black experience. There's been
macro
a macro,
So tell me
a
what you mean by
collective.
that.
What I mean is that there's been silos. There's been academic discussions. There's been discussions sponsored by white gays to get black people to speak their rhetoric.
What kind of, I'm curious.
But there has
what
not
kind
been-
of conversation are you talking about? A town hall at the NAACP meeting? Tell me what you mean.
I'm talking about black people getting together to rationally engage the fact that there's same-gender loving, bisexual, and what's called trans people in our community, and engaging that phenomena in ways that are no longer, at least for that day, judgmental or abusive, or creating the scar tissue or exacerbating the scar tissue that's there that has yet to be resolved because we have not had the conversation. Even on the continent, in Uganda and Tanzania, Africans have had a conversation about this that was macro. It was televised, and there were local conversations. We have not done that in my lifetime, but there have been silos. So there are people who are watching that phenomena who might be considered, if you will, too sensitive, and that might be true, who are reacting because they didn't see it pan out the way they wanted it to pan out in terms of a conversation.
Right.
What you're saying, Roland, is that it was a real conversation, and it should be seen as a real conversation, and people should not be dogging it because it didn't turn out the way they wanted it to, because people were doing something that we need to have that we're not doing.
Because when you dog it, what you're now doing is you're telling somebody, oh, I ain't gonna say nothing because I know what happened last time. And my point is, you can't.
Okay.
When somebody says, again, I go back to again the brotherhood concept. Okay, the brotherhood concept. I remember being in a brotherhood where one brother let some stuff. He repeated some stuff that happened in the brotherhood. And he got his ass whooped. And we didn't move. He got his ass whooped. And we let it go. Then it was like, okay, then we're done. Now, why? Somebody probably is like, oh, that's violence. Keep your mouth closed. The point there was, no.
Damn.
See, again,
No,
when you take care of stuff in-house, see, that was a reason why my college chapter never got infected by external forces, because we didn't let it in the house. We took care of business in the house. That's what a brotherhood does. The purpose of a brotherhood is I should be free to say whatever I want to say, and it stays in the brotherhood.
Right, but most brotherhoods...
So the point I'm saying here on this conversation here, the reason I take offense to the people who got mad is because of television, we are observers of the conversation, but we ain't in the brotherhood. If you stop it, if you stunt the conversation, you're never gonna have a real conversation. Because everybody's too careful.
Right.
And that's why my deal is when we talk about race, when we talk about sexism, misogyny, when we talk about what you're talking about, same-gender loving, you have to allow the space to create it. For somebody to be so against, so bad, I don't care, because if I shut you down from the outset, there will never be a real conversation.
Guess what?
Hold on, Cleo.
Right?
No, hold on. Cleo, and then I'm into this in 3 minutes. Go.
Okay, one of the critiques I saw was that Kevin Hart was being phony.
Right.
Because Kevin Hart was like, oh, he's gay. And what y'all talking about? When, I'm not saying what I agree with, I'm talking about how people, I interpret behavior. They were like, wait a minute, he just got finished not getting a gig, and he has these attitudes that sound like somebody who's anti-homosexual.
But the people also, but here's the other piece. People also don't know, which I also don't know, when that was shot.
Sure.
So I don't know if that conversation was shot before the Oscar controversy or after.
Right.
No,
but
go ahead.
Let me just ask one
wait a minute. I'm
question,
almost
Cleo.
finished. Oh,
Cleo, go ahead. No, Cleo, go ahead.
when the controversy happened is not really relevant.
I got you.
What he did that was so-called homophobic, and on another show I'm gonna tell you why I say so-called, because we don't have time today, happened before the Oscars. It happened a long time ago.
I got you.
And so that had been registered before then. But one thing I want to close with, so you can understand the difference between somebody who's heterosexual, who might be watching this, somebody who's same-gender loving, who's watching this, in terms of how they're reacting to it or might be concerned about things beyond Kevin's phoniness, is that wherever I go, people assume I'm heterosexual. So I'm in the barbershop and we do the handshake, and I'm getting to get my hair cut, and people will launch into the Jesus Christ N-word field. LeBron did a good hook shot, faggot conversation. And then I have to come out, but I'm not really coming out because I don't believe in coming out. I come into self-love. I come into self-knowing, and everything else takes care of itself. I'm not concerned about what nobody thinks. I don't come out to nobody. You know, I don't care what you think, so I don't come out. But the point I'm making is, though, when I see black people being foul to black people, I intervene.
What happens?
And I have to intervene a lot.
How does that unfold when you do that?
Oh, so we got time for this?
Oh.
No, we don't. But that's the big. But we're
here's my
gonna
question.
save that one. So hold on. Well, go ahead, Julian.
You know,
And literally, I got 120 seconds.
the issue for me in this is you're talking about authenticity and fakeness, but is a television program the place where you expect to really see authenticity?
Yeah, hold on.
When you're desperate.
Yes.
all this
Hold on.
You're desperate.
Depending on what the show is, I don't expect authenticity with them damn Housewives show, which I never watch.
Right.
I don't watch reality television.
Right.
But the philosophy that I have brought my entire career in media is that when I'm on radio and we're on TV, we ain't having fake conversations.
No, we real, but that's
No, that's my point. So my point is the realness of the discussion is really predicated on the platform and the folks
Well,
involved.
was that the appropriate platform, Roland?
First of all, I don't watch the show every week. What I have seen clips, and what I've seen is they've had some real, honest conversations on their show about some issues that are unsettling. There are people who got upset that LeBron and some other cats, I believe, have used the N-word on the show in the conversation. And their deal is, because this is who we are and this is our conversation. The only point I'm saying is that I need people to understand you can't keep saying, man, keep it real.
Right.
And then get mad when folks keep it real.
I agree with that.
That's the most fundamental
I agree
issue.
with that.
And
Absolutely.
we can't tackle tough subjects in any community, but especially in the black community, if you don't allow people who might disagree vehemently to be there. I don't mind y'all, black conservatives are scared to death to come on my show. But here's the deal. I don't mind you being black conservative to come on my show.
As long as you're not.
I have one. No. I don't even use stupid. I have one rule. No. I have a very simple rule. Don't lie.
Oh, wow.
If you here's the deal. If you come on this show and lie, I'ma light your ass up. I don't allow lying. I don't allow. And if you make a mistake, Greg just said something, and I corrected him.
Sure did.
The thing is.
And I've done it in the past.
And here's why I do that. Because a person who's watching,
That's right.
I don't want somebody to say something. They like, well, Roland didn't say nothing, so it must be true.
That's right.
So I tell that's what I say. So I'm like, any black conservative, y'all are more than welcome to sit on this panel. But don't come here and lie. Then it's gonna be a problem. But we just gotta have these real conversations. There's a bunch of stuff, y'all, I did not get to. I know that, crazy ass white person. We're gonna say that for tomorrow and some other stuff. But again, this is what happens when we have real conversations and the show goes other way. And I can't stand these fake ass TV shows when they go, we're gonna stop it right there, we're out of time. No bullshit. The 24-hour cable network, extend that shit for 20 more minutes. I never understand that. And so, normally we have an hour show, but today we went an hour and 29 minutes. All right, y'all, be sure to support Roland Martin Unfiltered by going to our Bring the Fuck fan club. Go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can join via Cash App, PayPal, Square as well. I keep telling y'all, you are not getting a real discussion like this anywhere. It ain't happening on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, ABC, NBC, CBS. It ain't happening on no black website. This is the only place where we keep it real and raw. and that's the way we like it. So please, we need your support. Join our Breeding Funk fan club. Get a subscription because your dollars make it possible. I'm going to be in Atlanta tomorrow for the cannabis conference, and we're not live streaming. We'll have a live show. Avis Jones, we will be sitting in for me tomorrow, and so I'll see you guys on Monday. Don't forget, next week I'm going to be in Houston at TSU, Texas Southern University, for the Democratic debate taking place, and so looking forward to that as well. And so we got a packed show, lots of things happening. So I'll see you guys on Monday. Y'all be sure to watch tomorrow. Have an absolutely great weekend. And y'all have been tweeting me like I don't know. I forgot who gave me this shirt. So I have no idea. So I'm gonna take a picture, put it on social media, and then somebody gonna tell me where in the hell I got this shirt from, because somebody gave it to me. So I can't tell you where to get one, and I can't look. Greg, read what is it, Greg? I can't. Okay, right here. So Dubois, Malcolm, Angelou, Madam C.J., King, Harriet, Frederick, Wells, Turner, Obama. Is that it?
Rosa.
Garvey. And Garvey.
Black history.
All right, yeah. So I'll spell out Black history. I don't know where in the hell I got it from. So if y'all know, I'll let y'all know as well. So okay, I got to go, y'all. It's an hour and a half. I got to see y'all later. Holla! You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it.
Hey everybody, this is your man Fred Hammond, and you're watching Roland Martin, my man, Unfiltered.
Hi, this is Essence Atkins, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Hey yo, Peace World, what's going on? It's the Love King of R&B, Raheem Devon, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Hi, my name is Brescia Webb, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Ow. Well, I like a nice filter usually, but we can be unfiltered.
What's going on? This is Tobias Trevelyan, and if you're ready, you are listening to and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
What's up? I'm Lance Gross, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Hi, this is Cheryl Lee Ralph, and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, could it be any other way? Really? It's Roland Martin.
You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Hey fam, want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? The blackest show on all of digital, cable, and broadcast. Check out our audio podcast. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Press play.
Bye.